What's happening, guys? Okay, so if you've been watching all the vlogs, you would have seen the last two. You know, there's been a lot of work on the doors. You'll be happy to hear I've got them both basically back together for now. This door's currently shut. This is the passenger door. It's kind of tight because obviously, again, the rubbers haven't really been on for probably two and a half years, something like that. You know, whatever. And the doors haven't actually been latched shut for that whole time because they've just been shut enough to keep them. So what happens is this. So when I push the button to pop the door, it proper springs open. Like, so we've got a full gap here. And it's a bit tricky to shut it because, you know, it doesn't want to compress into the rubbers. So when you shut it solidly, we're good. So we're just going to leave them alone for a little while, as much as we can. We're going to try and leave them, you know, shut for now. So this vlog, I've posted a little bit online showing the dash conversion. I think I showed it in the last vlog as well, that we're planning to fit somehow a Mercedes S-Class interior. I'm not too sure about seats yet, but the dashboard 100%, we're getting that in somehow. The reason the S-Class, the W222, which is the 2018-ish model, the reason it's been chosen is because of the screen setup that Mercedes runs. So although the C and the E-Class run a similar setup, it's only on the S-Class that the screens are fully submerged into a recess. On the other two, I believe you can see the end of the screens and it just looks kind of unfinished, in my opinion. Mercedes seem to like it, but it's not for me. So I think you saw when we started this, so it's all set up over there on the other bench. So let's go and take a look at it. So yes, here we have, I don't know if you can see the button in there. Just pop this again with a good view. So that's how much it pops, which is nice, you know, for when you want to enter the car, but just, you know, not so great right now. Door card back on, dashboard stripped, door card back on. So as we go around here, we got, what the hell is this? Right, so this is the bit that I've cut out of the Nissan dash. So if I turn, let me pick this up for you. So this was the center console. This was obviously the shroud around the gauges. The reason that bit's been cut out is I wanted to retain this piece. Okay, so this is off the actual Nissan dashboard. Flip this over. So I've already removed these. So these brackets here, that screws on there. Okay, there's three of these, one at each end, and these that way round, I think. Okay, so these pretty much, this is what's going to secure the dash, because we got a pin here, and a pin over there, and these locate onto them. So what effectively I have is this piece of dashboard. Now, we already trimmed, see if I can't get you a better view on this, right. So, we already trimmed down the Mercedes dash. There was a vent here. So what I did, I laid the Nissan dash down on top of it, look. And we basically cut it out so that it would suit the size of this, just so we could test fit it. Now, luckily for me, the Nissan runs terrible, cheap, crappy vent systems underneath. So I'm hoping we can try and reutilize the terrible vent systems from the Nissan to at least get these working, and maybe some of the front facing. Now, as you can see, all around me are pieces of dashboard. What these are, I have begun cutting back everything that I consider to be unnecessary from this dash. So obviously we want to flat all of this out. This is where the Mercedes airbag would have been. Most of that can go. All of this can go. We've already started cutting all of this out. So obviously these were duct runs for the original Mercedes system, which we're not going to use. Again, brackets like this can go because they're just going to be in the way. Because if all we really want is this. All we need from this dash is this view. Okay, so we'll have this hole. And I can make a custom bezel that sits inside here and that we will mount our own screens to. Maybe 2, maybe 3 will get in there, which will do the dials and do the audio. Now it's very important that I do not disturb any of this along here in this bit, because what these bits enable me to do is I can then clip on the OEM trim piece from the Mercedes, and again I can somehow fabricate in the lower section of the Mercedes dash, because as long as it's in and it's mounted and doesn't move, then it's fine, it will work. And again, the center console, I'm assuming, clips into these 2 holes and comes down here. So as long as we can get this to somehow mount inside there, there's no reason this will not work. The logistics of sorting out the wiring and making heaters and lights and everything else work, I personally consider that to be easy in comparison to what we're doing right now. So I'm going to go to town on this, start trimming it, shaping it some more, and the eventual plan obviously is to trim this down a bit more. We're going to trim it around this curve because obviously I want to keep the shape of this where it comes round, but we're going to have to take this leather off because underneath this leather it's just going to be plastic. There's some padding, but it's just going to be plastic. So we need that piece plastic welded onto this piece, allowing for some shaping here, of course. We'll infill this just with a panel that gets trimmed. But as long as we can make this back edge, and especially these pieces here, connect with that dash, our A-pillar trims will clip in, and we'll be able to clip into the windscreen. So that's where we're going with this. But first, all this, I'm sorting that out, and then we're going to go and work on that. Okay, how much better is that then? Nice, reasonably clear workspace. Cleared all the crap off the floor. Inside the car, we've had a bit of a result, to be honest. So this is the OEM airbox. It bolts back into these 2 bolt holes. There's a bolt up here that nuts onto there, which holds that still. This screw here is holding this into place, which is the ducting system, which gives you your windscreen air. These here is the ducting that gives you the air through the center vents. This duct here is what comes across and gives you your duct over here to either side. I believe the vent for the feet is actually built into this unit and is down in here somewhere. But that goes back in. We're going to trim a bit of this. We'll probably have to block some of this off and reroute it and whatnot. But the key thing is that fits behind that dashboard, being modelled very nicely there by the 200SX. So with that very good news that we should be able to use the OEM ducting system for all of our hot and cold air, this box here has this connector on it. Sorry, I'm getting over a bit of a cold. So that connector plugs into this. Now I think I've already thrown away. No, it's here. Right. So this board came out of this. Now, the way this works, let's just look at the, we'll just look at the temperature gauge, because they all worked effectively in the same fashion. So the temperature gauge, as you can see, is the center one. So that's this one here. There's a push button option, which is this black button. These four would be LEDs at a rough guess. The 4 white bits. So 18 to 32. That is our heat, hot to cold. Now, so if we look closely at this board, you can see the copper. The state of my fingers. You can see the copper inner ring. Actually, I'll tell you what. Right, this will be easier. Let's do it this way. So, so the copper, the inner ring, that's your common feed. And then see all of these segments all the way around the outside. Okay. What happens is, when you turn the dial, see this bit of copper here? Okay, all that does is create a bridge between the common, which is the inner, and the one on the hour, which is what tells the system what temperature you want it to be. So as all it's doing is making a connection, let me just hold this up to the light. Now, do you see the little holes across the top with the white lines? So each one of them holes comes down through a white line, through a circuit line, to each one of them segments. So what that effectively means is we can connect a wire into these holes, which will effectively become each segment. So our hope is to wire all of this up to a Raspberry Pi, which will be connected to a screen in the dash. And then that way, if we can just make the OEM Mercedes buttons, which are in the center here, let's go over to the dash. If we can make the buttons which are here on the Mercedes dash operate through a Raspberry Pi, which is connected to a screen that's in here, sorry, up in here, we should be able to control the heating system via either a touch screen or via the buttons. It shouldn't be too difficult to make it work. So what I'm going to do now, actually let's show you. So I said to you I was going to do some work to the back of this. By work, I just went at it with a flap disc and just literally destroyed the hell out of it. Trimmed down all of this. This side is actually okay. But yeah, we literally just removed everything that was unnecessary that may or may not have been in the way of the venting system, which is inside the car. So that's pretty much that. So let me just put this back in the car so you can see what it looks like. Right. It was actually relatively easy to get back in. So there you go. So the dash is in. That heater matrix box is still behind. In here. So that's where them upright vents are that are supposed to be operating the round vents, which will eventually be here. So that's why we need to block them off and find a way of redirecting them. Because you can see here, that is the bottom of the heater box, which I showed you a second ago. The steering wheel, yeah, it's center enough. We will probably remove some of this nonsense that's not needed now, all of the metal bracketry. I was going to perhaps run some sort of, really reduced cut down steering column, but it's not worth it because, although, so the wipers are on an up and down stalk and indicators are on the up and down and the flash is to pull. The headlights are on a turn, but that's going to change because Mercedes have a controller over here. So that'll be gone. The ignition barrel is going to be gone because we'll run a push button start. So, as you can see, it's decent. Now, let me just flip it around so I can explain to you how we're going to work with this. Right, so the dash conversion pretty much goes on hold from this moment forward, because without the center console, we don't know if it needs to go further towards the screen or further toward, we don't really know the position of it. It's in. That is the key factor here. So the dash is in over the, all the stuff that's there, which is great. And we believe we can get the heaters working as they were in an OEM car. Everything else, headlights, hazard lights, etc. Heated rear screen is irrelevant because obviously we have a subwall, but we'll probably get it working just because why not? I will start buying the other center console pieces so we can begin progress it. But that is not top of the priority list. This was just something I wanted to do because we were taking the dash out. Also, this is a very good reason for you guys to subscribe to the channel right now, because there will be more videos about this conversion. This is not necessarily, this is not me giving you a tutorial on how to do this, but it's more I'm showing you that anything is possible. If you're willing to buy it, cut it up and have a go, I think this is, a prime example. I had no clue if an S-Class Mercedes dash was really going to fit in this car. And I think with very minimal effort, it's going to fit in this car. So, please hit subscribe, see what we're up to and stick with us. Materials are here for the mold. So I'm hoping the next vlog will be us beginning to take a mold of that rear arch and the skirt and the bumper part. So definitely stay tuned for that. So I hope you guys are enjoying it, and we'll see you soon.